For number 60, I'm pulling out another game that I've already reviewed a few years ago. That one was only via text on a forum, so I decided to do it again with video footage, as it's not a bad game, and I want to play it again. It's Cold Fear, a survival horror game that takes place on both a Russian whaling ship and an offshore oil rig. First off, let me best explain how this game looks. It's a cross between a few early Metal Gear Solid games and Resident Evil 4 and on. Basically, the camera functions just like Metal Gear Solid, where you occasionally have still shots, but mainly it'll follow you around. The aiming and shooting feel much more like Resident Evil, as right-clicking brings up your gun and laser sight, and you just point the little red dot to what you want to die and start clicking. It may sound like Cold Fear was just trying to copy other games, and it kind of did, but to give it credit, at least it did it well. First off, the story. You play as a member of the US Coast Guard, named Tom Hansen. He gets a distress signal on a whaling ship, and of course is sent to check it out. At first, you're thinking it's just a problem like the ship lost its course or something, but then the Russian occupants start firing at you. Things quickly get out of control, as you find out that a bunch of strange creatures called exocells have boarded the ship. They occupy their human host by being swallowed, typically by unconscious people. Then that person effectively becomes a zombie, but a little bit quicker. Many of them have weapons such as pipes and wrenches. The regular humans will die easily, but the exocells aren't as easy to take down. Basically, you need to decapitate them. Just like regular zombies, the exocells have control of the brain. So no brain equals no zombie. This isn't always the easiest either, because on occasion you'll find specially mutated exocells that break the rules a little bit. And some of the zombies even have the little parasite pop out of the neck when the head pops. It may sound very complicated, but as long as you aim for the head, you really can't go wrong. And because you will be shooting a lot of heads, there's going to be a lot of blood involved. Blood splatter will occur and even hit the camera on occasion. It's pretty cool, and it's just an extra added effect that helps the setting. The setting is also accompanied by a good environment. Possibly one of the best parts is the water effects. Right from the start, you get the feeling that there's a storm brewing. The rain can be qualified as falling in sheets, and waves are constantly crashing against the sides of the boat. There's even times where the ship is rocking so hard that Tom actually falls to the ground and has to hold on to prevent going overboard. If he's still standing and he's hit with a massive wave, he'll actually take a bit of damage. The oil rig stage isn't as dramatic, mostly because it occurs inside, but it's still pretty effective. The oil rig does look strangely similar to Resident Evil 2's Umbrella facility, but at least there's enough differences that it's not completely a blatant rip-off. One of the things that can be a pain in the ass in the stages is that they can kind of change mid-level. Basically, doors may break or lock mysteriously, items may be found elsewhere, and things like that. One of the things you'll see is that you can enter a door one time, and then when you come back to it 5 minutes later, it's magically broken. It makes no sense, but I can see the point because it forces you to go a different route to force the story along. It's just frustrating because the game forces you to do quite a bit of backtracking, and sometimes it's difficult to tell what a freaking door is and what is just a wall. Thankfully, one of the things that the game does have is that Tom gives audio clues on when you're going the wrong way. It happens more on the boat than the rig, but occasionally he'll announce, "I don't think this is the right way." At least it helps a little bit. Speaking of backtracking, there's one thing that pisses me off about this game. There's no map. In a game that requires you to retrace your steps to proceed, a map isn't always necessary, but sometimes the layout of a level, especially when first starting it, can be utterly confusing. The ship isn't so bad, but the oil rig's layout can get confusing, especially when you end up in underground areas. One of the other ways you can tell you're going the right way is that the game saves. This is done at checkpoints, so it only occurs at specified points during the game. If you die at any point, you don't go back to the last checkpoint though. Instead, you go back to where you last saved. So if you didn't feel like saving for about 5 checkpoints because you were traveling smoothly, then fall off the boat, you're going backwards and are going to need to make up quite a bit of time. Moral of the story? Save every time. So the story thing, it goes along well enough, but it's nothing that's really original. Basically, Tom finds a helpless woman and is determined to help her out. You'll see her coming and going, and ultimately you do leave with her. However, Tom does get infected twice within his journey, and although he seemed to get cured the first time, the second, not so much. He just magically seems to have been cured of the disease. There's a few minor plot twists here and there, but eventually he does manage to blow off the government agent that instructed Tom to check out the whaling ship in the first place. The biggest disappointment is that the story is completely anticlimactic. You get to the final boss, which of course happens to be related to Anna, the damsel in distress, and it's so ridiculously easy once you figure out its pattern that it's pathetic. The thing that pisses me off is that you have a ton of guns, but you finish them off with 3 freaking shots to the head. That's right. You can dump all of your ammo into the fucker, but it takes 3 quick time events with your fucking Desert Eagle to drop them. After that, you get treated to the ending, which looks like another game I've played quite a bit.
Hurry, get in.
Let's get out of here. It's all right. I'll take care of this.
Papa, I'm sorry.
Goodbye, Papa.
Oh wait, it looks like Contra. So add that to the games it attempts to clone. The ending isn't the only CGI scene you see, and thankfully they all look pretty good. Major plot twists are typically coded in as movies, and the minor ones are just done using an in-game engine. Fortunately, the graphics don't look half bad, even for its age, so it's nothing that's going to be harsh to the eyes. So I mentioned a few instances of needing to blast exocells, but what does your armory give you? You start off with your trusty Desert Eagle, which takes out most of the starting enemies with 1 blast to the head. The next gun you get is your typical AK-47. After that, you get a shotgun, flamethrower, an MP5, and a grenade launcher. You can also get access to a spear gun, but it's not really a weapon, but more of a support item. Basically, spearheads are dipped in a solution that attracts exocells, so you can use it to get exocells to lose focus on you. As they are attracted to the spear, you can take another weapon and destroy them. This, in my opinion, has limited use, especially against the last large form of exocells. In order to obtain more ammo, you can do one of 2 things. You can find a designated armory in each level, which fully restores all ammo capacities. The armory on the whaling ship eventually gets destroyed though, but by this point you really won't need it much more. Once you get to the oil rig, you can repeatedly use it. The other option is to loot corpses for items. It doesn't always happen, and burnt corpses don't give you anything, but they will often give you ammo and health packs. The health packs typically only appear when you're at 50% health or lower. As for the ammo, often it's random, but many times it seems like it gives you ammo for the current weapon that you have equipped. So when you're firing, if you don't access the controls, you may notice that R doesn't reload. The first time I played this, I figured there was just no reload option. And it took me about 3/4 through the game to realize that you can manually reload. It's not R though, it's F. F? Who the fuck maps reload to F? R isn't even used in the game, which makes no freaking sense. I never, ever played a game in which F is used to reload in a game where R isn't even freaking used. Why F? Out of all the keys, yeah, it's close, but why not just use R? I don't get it. The game itself isn't terribly long, completable in about 8 hours. Being how the game is presented, this isn't a bad thing, as it's ended correctly and not dragged on forever. Just when the plot starts winding up, you're given the final task of playing C4 to blow up the rig's platform as you run to a helicopter to escape. One thing I don't understand is the credits. They're unskippable, which is understandable. It also features Marilyn Manson's Use Your Fist Not Your Mouth, which is a decent song in my opinion. My problem is that they use 2.5 times in the credits. That's right, the credits roll so slowly that the song loops. Why not pick a few other songs or just speed up the credits? Finishing the game also unlocks art galleries, which I couldn't give 2 shits about. But they're there, and they're available. Cold Fear is a pretty well done clone of several other games. It has its share of scares and things jumping out at you, but the action is pretty constant and solid. The story could have been a little bit better, especially near the end, but overall, it's a pretty fun game for a weekend killer. Just don't expect any sort of replayability. Final score? 7 out of 10. This is Reaper. Happy fragging.